You worked hard to apply to the college you wanted to join. You passed the exam, the interview, and so on, and you got admitted. Maybe you even got a scholarship. You were excited, you made friends, you played sports, you joined extracurricular clubs, and you also studied. A year passed, another year passed. Now, in your third year, you suddenly wake up to a nightmare. When you ask yourself, what have I learned until now which will get me a job? You panic. You go to your advisor and ask what you should do, which courses you need to take, which you need to drop, what about the extracurricular activities that you are involved in and you're also very popular in them. And he tells you, do what you like. Do what you like. Now that is when you come to me because you know that what you are hearing doesn't sound right. It isn't. It is wrong. But understandable because people love those who tell them what they want to hear. Not what they may hate, but they need to hear. So here is what you need to hear. And since I don't care about being popular, get ready to hear some truths about life and about yourself. The first and foremost thing to understand is that there are fundamental, just like there are fundamental laws of physics which describe and govern how the world runs, like for example the law of gravity, the laws of thermodynamics, the law of aerodynamics and so on. There are fundamental laws of success. And just like the laws of physics are independent of time and space, so also the laws of success are also independent of time and place. The law of gravity that operated when Ibn Firnas took to the air still operates on every plane that takes to the air, every A380, every F-16, every anything. The laws of success that enabled people like Ibn Sina, Rene Favaroro, Mehmed I, Kobe Bryant, Muhammad Ali, Salahuddin Ayyubi and so on to succeed still remain the same. And here is what they are. The first one, what you like is immaterial. What you like doesn't matter. It never did. What anyone in the world likes doesn't matter. But if you have been fed on this thing of do what you like, then you are living in a lie. You have been told that somehow all decisions must be based on what you like. Now, this is how animals operate. They go for what they like, nothing else. They don't plan, they don't postpone gratification, they don't take pain today for pleasure tomorrow. They do what they like without a thought about the consequences. That is animal behavior. That is not how a thinking human is supposed to behave. To succeed, and that is the truth, to succeed, you need to do what is necessary, which is often not what you like to do. As Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest athletes of modern times, said, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. He also said, I don't count my sit-ups. I only start counting when it starts hurting. When I feel pain, that is when I start counting because that is when it really counts. When he was asked about the most important part of his training, what that was, he said it was dodging the nightclubs, the parties, and the girls, and being in bed by yourself at 9 o'clock every night. Kobe Bryant, when his team returned from a game that they had won, and everyone either went home or went to celebrate, he would go to the gym for the next 2 hours to practice the 2 shots that he had missed. To him, the fact that missing those shots had not affected the outcome of the game and his team had still won the game didn't matter. What mattered for him was to learn how to correct his mistake so that it could never happen again. He did it on his own and not because someone told him to do that. He said, I cannot relate to lazy people. We don't speak the same language. I don't understand you. I don't want to understand you. Someone said, hard work beats talent when talent is not working hard. There's no substitute for hard work. To succeed, you need to work very hard for an insanely long period of time. That is how you like to work smart. That is how you learn the meaning of smart working. All this can be condensed into one word, and that word is focus. Ordinary light at best illuminates. Focus, which is laser, cuts through steel. The difference is focus. 2. Focus requires a target. So write down your goal. Write it on paper with a pen, not on a device. There's a positive correlation between physically writing goals and committing to achieve them. Now you can see how silly the advice, do whatever you like, truly is. Imagine you ask me, which road should I take? And I answer, take whichever road you like. That would be crazy, that would be insane, right? I really should have said, that depends on where you want to go. So where do you want to go? Once you state that clearly, I can advise you which road would be the best route for you to take. But without that, how can anyone answer your question about the road? So write down your goal. It all begins with that. Until you write the goal down, it will all seem to be a mystery. Once you write it down, doors will open and the path will be clear. Then write down what will it take to reach the goal. Take into account everything that is necessary and seek advice from others if you like. But write it all down. How much knowledge, how much influence, money, everything that you need. What technology, what network, what kind of team. How will you get each of these? The more detailed your plan, the easier it will be to execute it. So take your time and plan well. But have a deadline by when you should complete the planning. There is such a thing as overthinking and analysis paralysis, and you don't want to get caught in that. Then arrange that list of things you need to do as a flowchart with timelines showing what comes first and what comes next and how each stage is related to the other. Most importantly, write a time by when you need to complete each stage. If there are things to be done in parallel, indicate that. The flowchart is very important because it brings to the fore what differentiates a dream from a goal, which is a timeline. By when? Then do a gap analysis. See where you need to be, which is your goal, and where you are now, and determine what you need to do to bridge that gap. Then make a timetable, print it out, stick it on the wall or wherever you can see it, and follow it religiously, follow it dogmatically. That is the key to success, to follow the timetable without fail. And finally, get off social media. All social media. Maybe keep one chat to make free calls, but get out of Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, everything. Listen, if you are using social media, you are a consumer and therefore you are the product. Someone is using you, is selling you for free without your explicit consent, without compensation, and without even your awareness or deliberate blindness to become humongously wealthy at your expense. You are enabling it because of your addiction. Save yourself. Get off all of it. It is all distraction and will sabotage your success as surely as the sun rises every morning. Now, get off means totally get off. Unsubscribe, uninstall, remove, delete, and forget. Those who love you will call you or write to you, which is far better than anything else. Those who don't won't. And that is even better. Remember that excuses don't change reality. Excuses do not change reality, and it is as simple as that. In conclusion, let me share with you a personal story. I started working in Guyana in 1979 in Kokwani, a bauxite mining town on the bank of the Berbice River in the middle of the Amazonian rainforest. I stayed there for 5 years and returned to India in 1983 and joined the plantation industry in the Anamales in South India. In the same year, I decided to make a career as a leadership consultant. I wrote my goal as I will be a leadership consultant with a global practice and clients for whom I will be the natural and only choice. Now, writing this was easy. Achieving the first stage of it by launching my consulting practice took me 12 years of working every weekend, every vacation, and spending every penny on learning consulting skills. Remember, at the time I started, I didn't know that it would take me 12 years. An investment of time and money and effort and the hard choices that I had to make. Maybe that was a good thing because I'm not sure if I would have had the courage to take the first step if I had known the whole score in advance. During this period, I earned an executive MBA, the MEP, from the Indian Institute of Management, IIM Ahmedabad, which is the premier business school in India. This happened in the year I got married, 1 month after my wedding, 1985. My wife spent that time with her parents, and I didn't see or speak to her until I completed my course. That was not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't have the money to travel or to make an international telephone call, because she was in Leeds in England and I was in Ahmedabad in India. The pace of our course was grueling. We worked 16 to 18 hours every day and 20 hours on weekends. We had surprise tests, we had CPs, class presentations, where we presented a concept or solution before the entire class, and people delighted in taking our solution apart. If you survived that, the professor did the deed. But that was the price of being taught by the best minds in the world and having as classmates people you would pay to listen to. So when in the middle of the course they announced that we could have a week off to go home, everyone was delighted, except me. As I told you, my wife was in Leeds, England, and I was in Ahmedabad in India, without the money to go or even to make an international telephone call. As I said, this was 1985, long before chat apps and free calls. Everyone went home, and I spent the whole week on campus alone. The dining hall staff very kindly offered to cook for me. The only people on the campus were gardeners and janitors and security guards and some professors who lived in campus housing. IIMA, the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, was empty. and I was alone. But I was determined to succeed, and so I stuck to my guns. It took my life savings, every penny I had. I sold my car, I took a loan, I took leave without pay because I was in a full-time job to pay the fee for the course. None of this was a surprise except the mid-course week. None of this was a surprise. My wife and I spoke about this and decided that I needed to do this if I wanted to be a consultant. In this case, the tough choices and their cost was for both of us to bear. We did. And we've never regretted that ever since. Was it easy? Success is not easy. If you don't want to pay the price of success, try failure. Today, at age 70, I am recreating my career as a confidential advisor to boards and founders, bringing to bear and leveraging over 40 years of global experience in leadership development, succession planning, and family business transformation across 3 continents. This in addition to wildlife photography and writing, my 2 passions. You ask, what about retirement? I say, what about it? Final point, choose wisely because it is your life that we are talking about. Thank you for listening and keep your comments coming.